Well, hello, YouTubers. It's the Average Joe with the Bipartisan Guy channel. Just wanted to post a video about this wild weekend. Man, did we have some stuff happen, huh? Got to see the man baby cry. You know, I just can't even understand how anybody can call this clown a leader. All he does is whine and cry. God, if something doesn't go his way, he just acts like a 6-year-old. He's such a baby, such a man baby. Anyway, so I'm getting old too, you know, approaching my 66th birthday. And in all my life, I've never seen such crazy times as what's going on right now. And I'm actually joyful that No Kings protest went off without too much of a glitch, very little violence. Millions of people, millions of Americans in the street protesting the overreach of this present day administration. And whether you think it's good for you or not, it's just not good for the country. And if you have any kind of love of country, you would side with the protesters. So, like I said, I'm getting old. It was 105 degrees out on Saturday, so I opted to do the parade. I'm going to share some videos with you about the parade, my feelings about it. But then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in Minnesota. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in Minnesota. It was a great place to grow up. I had a wonderful childhood. I grew up on Lake Minnetonka. Every day of the year was something to do, whether the lake was frozen over or whether it was wide open. The lake was such a great part of my childhood growing up. And I really do love Minnesota. I kind of feel bad that I left it. But, you know, I left Minnesota 35 years ago because I was a Republican then. And I really believed in conservative principles. But the Republican Party isn't conservative anymore. They're just not. And one of the things I want to touch on about what happened in Minneapolis was, you know, this is religious bullcrap that was behind that. In other words, you had a religious zealot. You know, there's clips out there, maybe I'll try to capture one, where he's on a stage dancing around like a lunatic. Like, you know, just out of his mind, praising Jesus. And I'm sorry, I just don't think, I'm not a religious man. My faith lies within humanity. And I just think that this religious crap is way out of control. And there is a reason why there's separation of church and state. If you have a state that's run by a religion, well, then you just have Afghanistan. And then I also want to reiterate again, man, get a hold of your senators. Tell them no on this crazy bill the Republicans are trying to push through. Just say no. You know, no more tax cuts. We're way too far in debt. If anything, taxes need to be raised to pay off this debt that the tax cuts over the last 25 years has created. We never had debt like this. We've never had debt this proportion before the tax cuts started happening. And like I said, I was duped. I was duped by Reagan. You know, I was a good little Republican. I thought the tax cuts were going to really do the economy and my life better. And it just didn't happen. The trickle-down economics only does one thing. It creates a wealth gap within our society that's just unacceptable. But anyway, I'm going to go into some really good videos that I took while I was participating in the No Kings protest, and I'll follow up with another video later on about how I feel about this religious crap. And that's what it is. It's just crap. I mean, how can you even believe in it? How can you even buy into any kind of religion after what we've seen happen with the Taliban, after what we see happens in the Middle East? It's just not good for government to endorse any religion whatsoever. So with that, I'm going to move on to some videos from the protest. And give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe if you like my content. I know I enjoy making these videos. I hope you're enjoying them as well. Nothing else, give you something to laugh at. Okay, so here we go. We're moving on into the protest videos. Okay, so here we are. We've arrived at the park, and as you can see off to the left of your screen there's already quite a few people there. The protest was scheduled from 2 till 5. We opted to take place in the parade, or the motor march as it was called. So we needed to find our place to get started in the motor march. Now the Reed Park is a pretty big park. It encompasses, I believe, 255, I mean, 155 acres. Anyway, it is really big. It's got a park in there. It's got a zoo, the pond, baseball field. It's a pretty good park. It's right in the central part of Tucson, so well located, easy to access, except for when there's a protest against the present administration going on. So we're trying to find our spot where we start. We're driving through there. The Sentinel, the Tucson Sentinel, their headlines were "No King's Day, thousands of Tucsonians gather at Reed Park, Oro Valley." So it goes on to say thousands of Tucsonians turned out for No King's Day, a nationwide protest against the Trump administration, while the president celebrates his birthday with a military parade. Around 2,500 people lined the wide boulevard of Oracle Road in Oro Valley, while thousands also gathered at Reed Park in Tucson. There were similar events in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Green Valley, Rio Rico, and Nogales. A motor march was held Saturday afternoon, allowing people to show their concern by driving around Reed Park in an air-conditioned car, with temperatures expected to top 110 degrees. Thousands of vehicles joined the procession around the park, organizers said, as other protesters held signs and cheered along the sidewalk. So here we are. I think we finally found our spot where we're going to start our participation in the motor march. Lots and lots of people out there. So the article does state that there were 2 arrests made at area protests over the weekend. But, you know, by my estimation, just there at Reed Park, easily there was 5,000 people or more. As you'll see once we get started in the motor march, the amount of traffic or the amount of participants was just unbelievable. Now, keep in mind, we're talking 156 square miles that the Motor March is driving around. Um, so we're actually in the part of the park where the Motor March is supposed to take place. And if you look off to the right, that's where everybody was supposed to be. But as you can see, it was way overcrowded. And so we ended up just veering off into the overflow parking lot. So, this was kind of a special day, being as it was a protest and all. But the people were incredibly courteous to each other. Um, it's the way it should be every day. But on this particular protest, one of the things that really caught my attention, as you'll see here in a little bit, there was a lot of protesters driving around the park. But what was joyful to me about it is, and here's a good glimpse of it, you'll see that the protesters sort of worked to not necessarily block the roadway. And I observed that, like, when the residents of the neighborhood needed to get in and out or whatever, the protesters were real courteous to, I know it was probably a real drag to them, but they were real courteous to be able to let them get in and out of their neighborhoods. They would stop. They would allow vehicles in and out of the neighborhood around the park. And for the most part, we always tried to keep one lane. It's a 4-lane boulevard, one lane in each direction, unclogged. In other words, protesters stayed off to the right. I thought that was kind of cool. Uh, when you get people together for one cause, you can be pretty courteous to each other. I don't know why we can't do that in our regular day lives. Normally driving through Tucson's a nightmare anyway. I try to avoid it at any cost. I actually live out west of Tucson. Well, not by far, but I'm not, I don't necessarily live right in the city limits. So, but really had a great time. I'm happy that it was peaceful. You put 5,000 people together in a traffic jam, and it doesn't typically go so peacefully. But we did our drive around. Took about a half hour. Um, Pretty soon here, I actually ended up back at the park and parked after an hour and a half of driving this little area, and got out of my car and actually took a video from there and explained it. And so that's what this next part of the video will be. Again, I hope everybody appreciates this as much as I enjoyed putting it together. If you like our content, give us a like, thumbs up, and subscribe. And feel free to leave a comment. All right, so on to the next part. there was a lot of great signs.
So it's kind of the start of the
Get so
route.
creative.
All the way down there where you see the lights.
That was the vehicle we were running around in.
And this is on Country Club. The lights are 22nd Street.
I think that's really important.
So the park is just south of me there. And the parade
really was hot though. After driving around,
it goes all the way up Country Club here.
we just had stopped.
About 2.5 miles. It's a speedway.
There was only about 45 minutes left.
All the way around down to
we did our trip around.
And then from Alvernon, it cuts all the way back down.
Hopefully got counted in the numbers. Made a peaceful
took about an hour and a half to drive that.
Here's some of the signs. That's my favorite one right there.
8 block or maybe 4 miles.
A lot of people have a lot of creative signs. Overall, I really enjoyed the event. Go Arizona.